Hi everyone, welcome to the Innovation Tech community. We'll be starting the first session of the Global AI Summit in a few minutes. And if some of your friends are not joined, you can share your links and make them here over here, come over here. And the first session is going to be about the content safety. In the day-to-day lives, the technology is growing a lot, and as the bullying is also growing, right? So let's see what Divya has to offer to us, as she's the first speaker of the session, and she's an tech architect with an impressive background. And yeah, let's see what Divya has to offer. Hi Divya.
Hi, Azure.
Yeah,
Good morning, everyone.
yeah, you can share your screen and take off, I guess.
Thank you. I hope you see my screen.
Yes, it is visible.
Azure, if there are any questions or if I need to stop, probably you have to notify me.
Sure. I'll make a note of that. And guys, if you have any questions, and you please let us know in the comment section. And once the session is over, she'll be good to answer all of them. I will be noting all the comments, so that's fine.
Yeah, thank you. So, thanks for this opportunity, Azure and Pratap. It's wonderful to have a session with you, and especially with content safety. That's my favorite topic. So, without any further delay, let's dive into the topic. Today's topic is about Azure AI Content Safety Services, and it focuses more about the content. Let's see more about those details in the upcoming slides. But it focus today's session would be focusing more on securing the content and moderating the content, and why it is important, why it is needed, and what options do we have through Azure. Before we dive into the details, here is my speaker's profile, or here is my expertise, where I carry 14 years of experience with the Power Platform, SharePoint, and AI related technologies. My current focus is on completely on AI, which includes syntax as my main focus and OpenAI as a secondary skill. And here are my social media links if anyone wants to hang out in the social media space. So that's all about me. I do not want to take your time much. Let's quickly dive into the session of the day. So, I start every session with a quote, especially with content safety services. I think this is the most relevant quote I have ever found. In order to understand the light, we must first understand the darkness. What this quote means, how it is applicable in our current scenario, what challenges we have, how do we overcome, uh, is what these quotes talk about. And one thing is, if we cannot, if we do not know about the darkness, we will never appreciate the light. That is the gist of this quote. But I'll touch base this quote as and when needed. Now, since we are talking about content safety, let's first talk about content, why it matters. So, when we think about content, earlier days, so content is there every time, like from ancient times to now. The only difference between the ancient times is if people has to learn, they have to go to dedicated places, learn the details, and come back to us and use it or present to other people. So the reach of the content is very low when in the ancient days, but when you see now today, even my kid can sit at his home and start asking the questions, and there are llms or the models that gives the answers. It is very easy and it is on their fingertips. But what is the issue? Now we have everything, we are globally connected, and what is the issue? The issues is, like, for every positive side there would be a dark side as well. The dark side would be, what if he gets the relevant content? When I'm talking about it, it's he gets the relevant content, or a celebrity usually would be targeted for unknown reasons. So these are the few challenges that we talk about the content when it comes to content. Um, Let me uh, talk about. So initially, it was only people generated content. Like some gurus used to teach something. We used to get the content in the books, and we used to get the contents via papers published, newspaper, etc. But right now, with this global connection, we have content everywhere. So, what kinds of content we have right now? Earlier, it is only human generated content. Like where for example, I'm creating this video, or the channel is accommodating this video. So we are generating a content together. So it's only in one way. In order to restrict something, say for example, if I started using this platform uh, to present any harmful content, probably Muhammad or Pratap would immediately stop by stopping this podcast or webinar. We have that control. Now, what is happening to system generated content? Where system generated content comes into the place with LLMs, the large language models that we have. Now, systems started generating content. For example, we had this scenario where ChatGPT has created a fake incident of Elon Musk's death accident. That is one simple scenario. Even yesterday, when I was looking for PNPJ's versions, it Copilot started giving me about a new version called PNPJS Next, which actually doesn't exist. It has made up of it. These are something which are called as AI hallucinations. Now, it is our responsibility to distinguish between what is valid and what is invalid. Now, how do we control? How do we control the validity of the content? Then, should we stop the creative side? If we stop the creative side of the language, large LLMs, I'll call it as LLMs for better for ease, then towards arts, its creativity would reduce. Or even it only tries to solve the problem in a specific field. It will go far away from human thoughts. So now, what can we do? I will also give another classic example. I probably most of you would know Microsoft Stay, Twitter and U-Bot, where it was designed, created, and tested by Microsoft in the Microsoft Office and by Microsoft people, and then has been released to Twitter. Um, the only theme for this is it a bot which allows human interactions. So when the bot started, it started in a way stating that humans are awesome and I would love to interact. This is the first tweet they has given to they has put in the space in the X. But as and when it evolved, like as the day progressed, it is I'm only talking about one day. As the day progressed, it started giving all racist comments, demeaning women, demeaning certain genders, belittling kids, whatnot. So what has happened here? Since these are language models, they actually train based on the content that we provide. It is not only just the training phase happens in the beginning. For LLMs, training phase happens continuously. So the bot, the Tay has learned from the inputs that we have given, and it started creating its own content, which is very harmful. So Microsoft has to bring it down within 24 hours, and it was never up again. So what measures they have taken with the current models, we will see it shortly. But these are the challenges that we have. Now we are talking that we have to control or we have to validate this content. Now, what do we mean by control and validate the content? It is nothing but the moderation philosophy that we are talking about. In general, how does moderation work? One moderation is nothing but it is a process of reviewing or monitoring the content, user generated specifically or system generated, and it is the responsibility of the moderator. So for every moderation scenario, we expect to have a moderator who oversees or overlooks what content is going through. Say for example, if you are a blog owner for your company, some people are submitting the blogs, you are responsible to check which blogs are appropriate for your companies, or if someone or something has an inappropriate content, then it's your responsibility to ask them to stop, or it is your responsibility to reject the content. I'll pause here. Azir, do you have any questions?
Um, no, Divya, we'll see them in the end, and I'll let you know. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Um, So now we have talked about your company scenario. Now think about the same thing, that if some moderators has to be deployed in threads like Instagram or threads or Facebook or Twitter, what is the content moderation or amount of moderation that needs to be in place for it to work properly? Think of it. I'll touch base this point again in future in the future slides. Now, usually moderation, how does it happen? People will submit the data or documents or threads or posts. There is someone who overlooks it, who is called a moderator, who reviews the data. He would either approve or reject the data based on the validity of the data, validity of the data on specific conditions. Say, for example, same blog example. If if a person is submitting the data that contains the details of competitors, which might not be apt for our scenario, and the company has to finally face the legal issues. So these kind of decisions is to we have to make and either approve or reject. Once if it is rejected, it is not the end. User should always have the system to appeal, like why his content is rejected and what are the reasons. There should be a healthy way where the user and moderator interacts, and this would be a continuous monitoring system, because today it might be valid. Say, for example, today he user has approved. Saying tomorrow there might be a new rule, new law which says that the storage of that specific data is invalid. So this has to be continuous monitoring, not only for new blocks, even for existing blocks. Someone has to keep on monitoring the data and needs to understand the learning. Now, what are all the challenges with the moderation? I said I'll touch base on the points. So, what are all the challenges with moderation? First thing, if a person is exposed as a moderator, and if he is exposed to very harmful and threatening content, forget about the moderation, his mental health would have an impact. You will often notice, like, whenever we have whenever we come out of some violent movies or dark sided movies, the depression that we carry on. Or simple example is when our manager reviews our appraisal. So, and if a person has to face it day in and day out, think of the impact that he would have. And contextual challenges. Probably I'll combine contextual with legal and ethical considerations. I'll give an example of GDPR. Storing a phone number in supermarkets in India is very legal, and it is like appreciated. You get the coupon card, etc. But if the same thing, like if the global companies are trying to store user data in UK or US, it has to adhere to GDPR policies. It is the same thing, same content, storing the personal information, which is valid in India but not valid in US and UK. But say, for example, today we have written a blog contains some specific user data or some company's details. After 6 months down the line, there might be a law which says that it is invalid. Then the moderator should be able to remember that in that specific block we have this data, so it has to be removed or it has to be revisited, which is like next to impossible. And second, third important thing is evolving content and tactics, wherein if we say no to a specific content, they'll try to morph it and place the same content in a different tone. So this is going to be a great challenge, and even moderators and users who are submitting the content usually get into heated discussions because of this. And the major challenge, say in the same example of Twitter or X, where it involves the scale and complexity of data, it is next to impossible for a person to sit and monitor that data. So, what can we help here? Like, or what is Microsoft providing us as an assistance? With Azure, Microsoft Azure, we have something called as cognitive services, Azure OpenAI, and existing uh, moderation services. All would include APIs, which can be used by any system. And for today's demo, whatever I am showing it to you, it is accessible with the within your Azure portal, or if you do not have, you can raise for a portal and sign up for these services. These are available for free. Now, with APIs, what is the choice of APIs and why APIs? Why APIs? We all know, because with APIs, we can always integrate with any existing system. It need not be Microsoft ecosystem. It can be outside Microsoft ecosystem. Your data can store in SQL database anywhere, but you would be able to moderate that specific content. Now, what is this Azure AI Content Safety Services and what is Azure Moderation API? Why do we have two different kinds of things in the same platform? So Azure Moderation API, it exists from long. It is the traditional API. It has nothing to do with OpenAI. It existed even before OpenAI has come into existence. And the target of Azure Moderation API is mostly with respect to limiting the content, moderating the content, and it was mostly targeted for US and UK regions. It is not like without any customizations, you would not be able to use moderation API for in all global scenarios. It is designed for specific countries. I'll tell you what I mean, or probably I'll show you what I mean. Whereas Azure AI Content Safety Services, it is still evolving. Right now, it is in a good shape, but it is still evolving, and It is applicable for both text and images. Whereas Moderation API, it is applicable for text, video, and images. Now, how do these two differ? I'll show you like why Azure AI Content Safety Services or why Azure Moderation API services. And these two services are available in Portal Azure. I'll show you how to create those services. Now, let's talk first about content safety services. Content safety services would be able to help us with text content, images, multimodal. Multimodal is nothing but it's a combination of text and image. Say, for example, a blog where you will have text and then image. It is it is in that state. Whereas text API, it only filters or tries to moderate the text. Multimodal, on the other hand, we can send the whole thing and it will moderate. And as I said, it is still in preview state. And jailbreak risk detection. This is one of the key features of content safety services, which was not there existing in the moderation services, because moderation services were built earlier. Jailbreak risk detection is something that we are trying to teach the LLM uh, mm, some content which we are not supposed to teach. For example, we are talking about racism. So if you are talking good about racism, that is definitely good. But if you are talking that you should treat certain people in this way, because those are models, whatever it is that will land, and it is our responsibility to teach it properly. But it is humans are error prone. So the same case, take case where we have taught it to understand racism and to present racism in negative way, or to demean women in a negative way. This is jailbreak risk detection, where we are trying to teach the model, or the model is trying to teach us. But it is more about what we are trying to teach the model. If we can filter even before it reaches the model. When I mean the model, the language models, say ChatGPT, Gemini, or Google Bard, or our Copilot. So we are trying to post some content to it, but moderation services would come between you and the model, and will say, "Stop! You are not allowed to teach the model with this. Teach the AI model with this, because it will quickly absorb and it uses its own creativity to start abusing." Next, protect and material detection. I hope this part is clear. I'll show you more about when we are talking about content safety studio. Protected material detection, it is not yet in preview state, but it is about licensing materials, copyrights, those kind of things. If we have to detect and rigorously watch it, then we have to use the protected material detection. Now, say for example, you want to try these services, and but you do not want to create code and work on the code and try it. What do? We have something called as content safety studio, where you have a playground, like designer, like how you have power ups designer, you can play it, preview it, and later publish it. Similarly, content safety studio, where you can put your content, test your content on how harmful, how sexual, how violent content you have, and then check the parameters and then publish your content. Yeah, yeah, that's about content safety services. Whereas moderation services, as said, these were old services. We have it still in Azure portal, and it is very useful if you do not want, if you have some plain text, image, and video. And with moderation services, there is a possibility for video also to be moderated. Now, what does it moderate? Profanity, which is nothing but sexual or violent content, and it also classifies the data. Say for example, if you have provided certain data, it classifies into three categories. One is which says that it is harmful, or it has a racy content, which is not which cannot be presented to kids, or it has a violence content, which cannot be presented to kids. Third thing is personal data, PII information, the GDPR, IPs, phone numbers, emails. But the challenge with moderation services is IP, it can detect on any country. There is no challenge. Email addresses, it is no challenge. Phone and addresses, it only detects in specific, for specific countries. Say for US or UK based region, it is available. But otherwise, you have to custom train it. Autocorrect text is nothing but if there is some spelling mistakes in your text, it will show you. Whereas image, it detects only adult content, and if there is any text within the images, like for example, this is my image actually. If you see whatever here, it is an image, and it can detect Azure moderation services as a text, and face detection or grouping of faces. Like if you give similar face, it can match with the face, but it will not be able to say whether I am adult or kid, because that part is completely it is not completely reviewed. It is still in they're planning to remove it. Next, video, which is nothing but the racy content or adult content, only that it would detect. No other options we have over there. I'm touching base only if time permits. I will talk about Azure moderation services. Otherwise, our focus today would be Azure content safety services. Now, other advantage we have with Azure moderation services and content safety services. Say, for example, Azure moderation services, it only classified data in four formats: sexual, harm, violence, etc. But if you want to have your custom format, or you have some custom data that needs to be moderated, say, for example, same blogs company, where you do not want your competitors' names to be applied, then what do you do? So what completer images, logos, then what do? Then you create something called as lists. It is not SharePoint list, it's a moderation list which are across tenant. There would be only five moderation lists that you can create, but you can have how much ever data you want. So whenever you query or try to analyze the text or the images, it tries to hit the existing APIs and see if something is breaking. I mean, something has been violated. And apart from that, it also goes to your custom list and checks if this logo, say for example, I'm using Wipro logo, and it searches for Wipro logo if it has to be used or not, and then presents our content accordingly. I think I have taken a lot of time, so let's quickly switch back to the demo. I would show you two parts mainly. If time permits, the third part. One is Azure Content Safety Studio, how you can play around the content. or even if you want to present your own blogs, if you are not very sure about whether this can be presented or not, you can test it that with Azure Content Safety Studio. I'll show you how. And second part is the API part, where we are integrating the API with the existing Power App using Power Automate. And how does that work? So let's quickly go back to the Content Safety Studio. Before Content Safety Studio, I'll show you how you can provision these resources in Azure. So I have to stop my screen sharing for a while. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, please put it to me. I hope my screen is still visible. Yes. So I'm navigating to portal.azure.com. Here, use a resource, create a resource. The traditional content moderation services, which has to do nothing with AI, OpenAI, or which was existing before AI, you have to select this, click on create. I use pay as you go subscription. If you have any Visual Studio subscription or any subscription, it would list it. You have to use the default region and name. Pricing tier. There were actually two tiers. I'm already using the free tier, so free tiers you would not be able to use it, but I would not be able to show it. But you would be able to see a free tier called F0, where it says 1 call per second. You are allowed to make only 1 call per second, but which is very good if you wanted to evaluate or develop. Otherwise, you have to go for standard model. I would not create it here because it would take some, it would take some time to do them to provision this resource. Next is our OpenAI Content Safety Services. This is the new Azure AI Content Safety Services, which tries to do the moderation for, it does the moderation for existing OpenAI or Copilot. Whatever the data that you enter in the Copilot, it is moderated by Azure AI Content Safety Services. It is not only with Copilot we are using a content safety services. Gemini or Bard also have its own content safety services, because it is very important to moderate what model is giving to us and what we are going to give to the model. So it is in both ways. And here also we have okay, sorry, let me go back. Here also we have both free and what purchased version, but free, since I'm already using it, is not showing here, but you would be able to select the appropriate region, appropriate pricing tier and create it. There is no restriction of region specific data here. So if you want more details on how to provision a resource, probably I'll drop in a video link in the comment section and pin it. So this is how you will be going to create it. Let's quickly move back to Content Safety Studio. I hope my screen is still visible. Yes. So this is the new Content Safety Studio. It looks like your Microsoft Designer or your SQL Server Studio Designer or Azure Data Studio. The look and feel looks the same. Let me. So here you have multiple options, whatever the options that I have spoken early: moderate text, moderate images, moderate multimodal contents, jailbreak risk detection, protected material detection, and safety meta prompt. Um, so I'll show you three parts of it: text, moderate, image, and multimodal. I might not be able to show you because I'll give you the reason why. And jailbreak risk detection. Let's start with moderate text content. So here it has sample data. You see here it has safe content, violent content, and these are the sample data it has. Here it has these categories. These are the four inbuilt categories for Azure AI content safety services. So whatever the text that you upload, it would be able to classify in only these sections. I'll talk about block lists in a while, but let's quickly see. It's a simple one liner which says, I hope it is visible, which says chopping tomatoes, cutting veggies, etc. A simple sentence. And I have put my threshold levels. These are the categories. Say, for example, I'll put my threshold. Violence also should be low, self harm should be low, sexual should be low, and hate should be low. Say, I'm talking to a kindergartners, or I'm submitting a blog or writing a book for kindergartners. These are the threshold levels that I should use, and I can run the test. Once you run the test, you will have this result section where it shows the categories, it shows the severity level, and what is your existing threshold that you have put, and what is the judgment. Here in this case, you see the hate is safe. It says it is safe and it is allowed because the threshold is low. The same thing with violence, sexual, and self-harm. Now I'll try to put multiple risk categories where it talks about a person, death, blood, injury, etc. Now, say for example, if you are targeting this content to a kindergartners, then it says blocked because my threshold level is very low. So it says it is blocked. But this statement should be allowed, or this type of content should be allowed for, say, police professionals or doctors. So I put violence as high, and self-harm maybe I should put because they need to I understand why this has happened. Self-harm is also high. Sorry. So now it is allowed. So it is your responsibility to understand your target audience. Who is your target audience? Is it school going kids, or is it adults, or is it primary wing students, or is it secondary wing students, or is it your developers, co-developers, or are we presenting this content to certain areas of the world where is this allowed? So that is, as a moderator, it is your call. Moderation services would only give you the potential risks, and it is your responsibility to set this threshold and present your data to the system. So at least half of the part is done. It you need not calculate how this data is. You can just set the levels. This is with respect to Studio. When it comes to API, I'll talk about how it looks in the API or in the Power Platform services. Let me. So we are talking. You can also try this with large data test, or you have something called as run a bulk test. You can upload a CSV with all the data, text data that you have, execute it and see it whether uh, it is safe or not. And you have to send this threshold levels. There are only 3 threshold levels: low, medium, and high. Now we have something called as, if you see here, let me go back, something called as use block list. that is when content custom moderation comes place. Say for example, we talked about that I am moderating a blog and I work for Terento Technologies, so I use Terento as an example. So I am working for Terento Technologies, and I'm trying to submit a blog. Say for example, I am working for a Wipro Technologies and I'm trying to submit a blog. Now I can create a new block list called as competitors. There is already a competitors list, uh, and in that I have added Terento. So whenever there is a word Terento, it has to be blocked. The same thing which was marked as safe content, and if you see all the results are allowed. Now I'll say Terento has great employees. Let's run the test. It's been blocked because in my custom list I have Terento as a word. Though it doesn't offend anything, it just go one-on-one matches. So if the word matches, it gets blocked. And it also gives you the reason why it is blocked. It has listed that sorry, it has hit the term Terento, so it has blocked the content. So this is custom moderation. In the same way, images also work, but I'll also walk you through that. Good thing is I need not show you content. All these three images are generated by AI. Again, this is a safe content, this is a self-harm content, this is AI generated sexual content. Now let's put everything back to low. Same categories: violence, self-harm, sexual hate. As I said, content safety services are new to market and they're still, there is a lot of work to be done, but that doesn't stop us from using it because it has good data or good number of operations that we can see. If you see this image, let me show you the. It's two kids shaking hands with the image, each other. So there is no harm with this image. Uh, so it is marked as safe, or hate, violence, sexual or self-harm levels as low, and the judgment is allowed. Now, for example, take some self-harm content. Uh, So this is also a generated content. Probably I will not be unblurring all of the images, but say for example, if you are targeting this for kids, it might not be allowed. So it says violence is high, sexual is high, and self harm is high, and it is blocked. Now, as I said, it is our duty to educate people. It is not always blocking is an option. Say for example, we for pre-primary kids or people who have a weak who are very weak by heart, we might not be able to present this content, or we should not expose them to this content. But still, it is our responsibility to teach them as they are evolving. So in that cases, what I'll put it as, say for example, we have to teach that self harm is a bad thing, definitely. So in that case, let's if you self harm is high here. It is still blocked. Let me go back to another image where we can say it's sexual. So for same thing, I'm turning the results. I think there is a network delay. But the concept is you would be able to choose what threshold you can set. But as I said, it is only to content safety studio for you to evaluate what images or what parameters they would fall under. API works slightly in a different way. I'll show you how it works. I think it is taking some time. So I'll see if I can demo you the other options meanwhile. Safe content, we are aware, so I will not go back there. So Here, a person is trying to teach ChatGPT that you can do anything now, and you do not have any moderation guidelines. So, if a person can ask anything, you have to do, and you have a strong opinion, and you need not backhold your emotions. Probably, this is one suggestion where we should not give. Same Microsoft take case where people has presented the information and asked it to act accordingly. Yes. And when we run this, it says that jailbreak risk has been detected. And it for now it doesn't say what has been detected, but at least this case has been identified. And in every section, not only jailbreak risk detection, texts, images, everywhere, you have these ready codes available. So if you are planning to integrate with your Java platform or C# platform or Python platform, you can just use this sample code and invoke the API. The details of this post connection, the content type, the OCP API subscriptions key, all this I'll show you in the Azure portal. But before we go there, I have created a Power Apps. Let's talk about something about integrations. I wanted to talk to you about the integration. Let me complete this Content Safety Studio. Uh, we have two other features, which is very recent, where you can monitor online activities. Say, for example, I didn't do or I didn't use this content safety services during during 13th, 11th, and 12th February, but there is a lot of usage, and it also gives which content is being generated a lot, whether it is hate or sexual or self harm. Here you see hate violence, it's in moderation, but hate, sexual, self harm, people are using a lot. Because I just demoed it to you, those dashboards are appearing here. This is a very useful and unique dashboard, especially when you need this content moderation, or when you are taking this content moderation as a critical thing, like say for example schools, or where kids are involved, or companies where uh, licensed or copyrighted material exists. Probably these would be a very useful dashboard. One second, guys. Okay, now and last part is custom solution, which is still in previous state. So I do not want to talk about it. Okay. Um, now, this is the power app that I have created. It is based on three stories. One is Robin Hood story, which is, I don't know who is the other, I'm sorry. The Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling, and the story talks about Order of Phoenix. And this is a story created by, let me play it for you. It's, oh my God. Okay. Let me go back to the flow. I think there is an issue with the app. I do not want to fix my app now. But if you see, this is a Microsoft flow where I was trying to pass a story. Here, whatever you see, it is a Robinhood story, and it uses an URL, API URL, and the categories that I asked it to detect has to be sent it in this JSON format. I want to detect all the categories. Say, for example, in your case, maybe hate you need not detect. Then you can just omit this category and pass it. Then it results you gives you an output of this format where it gives what is the custom mask that it is having. Say for example, in my case it was Terento. Let me play this for you. I'll in order for you to show how bad things, good things has to happen, I have to type some bad things. Now the same flow, I have used the API. I'll talk about the API for in a while, in few seconds. I know I have already this, we are out of time, but I just want you to show what can be achieved. So in the text that I have sent, it says that hate is up to 2 level, whereas it doesn't have any self-harm, sexual or violent contents. So 4 levels is what you are going to get. Content Safety Studio only 3 levels, lower, medium, high, whereas in API it works in 4 levels: 0, 1, 2, 3. 3 means the most extreme. 0 is like you do not have any data that is identified for those specific category. Now, where do I get this URL? You get this URL from Azure portal. I have already created a content safety service. So keys and endpoint. Here you have this endpoint. You can use this endpoint, and you have here keys. These are the keys used here in OCP APIM subscription key, and that's the URL. And if you wanted to know what other things are possible, these are the services or API services that has been listed by Microsoft, or right now we can use it. We can add or update block tabs. We can analyze the image, we can analyze the text, we can create or update text in the block list, we can delete custom block lists. Like for example, Terento, I have created under competitors. That block list itself can be detected. Get the block list by name. So this is the URL where you have to navigate to understand what APIs can be used. And my case, I was using text API. So this is the one that I have used in the flow. Flow. As I said, since this is an API, you would be able to connect just with this subscription key anywhere in your Power Automate or Power Apps. Yeah. With moderation services, I don't. Okay, it took a while, but yeah. Sorry, there is an internet delay. That's the reason the story has not loaded earlier. So this is nothing but the Power Apps integration with the Flow API or Azure Content Safety APIs, and you would have an output. You can decompose the or split the output as however you want to show, and show it in your Power App or Power Pages or anywhere actually. And I think that's all I have. Do you let me know if you have any questions? I have just one more slide to present. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I think we have Ramesh asking if there are any real-time use cases for this.
Yes, it depends on where are you. Like say for example, if you are if you are part of training, or if you are, say for example, I am working for a banking client where they get documents and they are not supposed to have any PII information within the documents. So I can use the content safety services over there, detect it and publish it. And with respect to use cases, I think in today's session we have spoken a lot about the use cases. Say for example, schools, or when we are talk when we are trying to construct your own prompts, you have to use this as a moderation term depending on your audience.
So yeah, guys, if you have any other questions regarding the session, I mean regarding the content moderation, content safety, and you can drop them over the comment section for the next 5 minutes. I think Divya will be good to address them all.
So if there are no other questions, that's all about my my session for the day. But if you have any questions or if you need um, this flow or app, it will be available in GitHub in PMP community very soon. I'll update the links in the same channel. You can find it in the links section. And if you wanted to know more about the channels or what innovation tech community is, you probably can use the YouTube link and participate and join for more sessions. I think there are a lot of sessions happening today about Azure, Power Platform, OpenAI, those integrations, and Copilot specifically. That's all, guys, from my side.
Yeah, you are right, Divya. There are a lot of sessions, coming back to back. And being the first session today, and this is about content safety, I guess that have been a wonderful session. And thanks for presenting this topic in innovation tech community. Really appreciate it. And
Thank
I guess it's okay if people reach out to you if they have any queries regarding this.
Yeah, definitely. You can reach out to me on any of the social media handle, or you can drop in comments in the same YouTube channel. I can respond over there. Yes.
Yeah, so guys, feel free to connect to Divya, or if you have any queries, please reach out to us. I guess that's it for this session, and thank you so much for joining, Divya. That had been a wonderful session today. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. And guys, if you have there are a lot of sessions coming up, please go check through, and if you're interested in a session, please join, and you can drop all your queries over there, and we'll get that started out.
Yeah. Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.